My name is Marijn and I've got with me the amazing, the wonderful, the one and only Corinna. We are going to talk to you today about using Teams as a diving board to improve the adoption of new applications. So we're going to talk about how to onboard other applications while using Teams as the platform to scaffold all that. So with that, let's go to the next slide, which is the sponsors. So as always, we need sponsors to have a good event. And even we moved everything digitally, and the organizers of the event don't need to set up sandwiches and meeting rooms and whatever. There are still a lot of costs involved. They need to give awesome gifts to the speakers and stuff like that. So they have to get money. No, I'm just joking. But still, it's awesome to see that we've got sponsors that still want to sponsor digital events. So I'm very happy that they do, or that they did. And with that, I want to introduce my co-speaker. But before I do that, let me just say, feel free to ask questions in the meeting chat. I've got the meeting chat open. We will have time for questions in the end. But if I see any questions pop up that we can just answer right there and then, of course, we will do that as well. Also, just at the end of the session, there will be a slide with a link to a form where you can say how much you liked our session. So I really want to encourage you to do that as well, but also feel free to talk to us on Twitter, for example, so at Corinna_Lins or at Marijn Somers, to talk about how amazing our session is and how much you learn from our session and how good we are looking, of course. So all those things you can just answer or tell us on Twitter. So with that said, I think we are definitely the best looking presenters from the whole AOS Germany Day. So I really want to invite you to learn more about Corinna. So Corinna is, she's awesome. I've followed her for a number of years on Twitter, and I met her last year in Haarlem for the first time. And she is the person that I go to whenever I'm stuck. So whenever I'm stuck on SharePoint, on OneDrive, on Teams, I have got no clue what to do. She's the person that I'm calling. She's the person that I'm bothering, because I know that she will have either an answer or that she will move heaven and earth to find the actual answer. So she's my go-to person for all things that can go wrong. And I think earlier this year or last year, I asked her that big question, like, please, would you do a session with me? And she agreed. So she said yes on that question. So we are now doing sessions together. So she has been working as a consultant for over 8 years. She's now working at MSG services. So we get some money every time we say MSG services. And she also organizes a bunch of events. So she does this, what's that called? The something in the Alps, cloud in the Alps or something. She does a lot of things in Munich. So she's just a busy bee. And yeah, that's Corinna.
Yeah, thank you, Marijn, for the introduction. So I just
Did I
switched
overdo it?
the video. Yeah, so I'm Corinna Linz, and yeah, thanks again for the introduction, and hello also from my side. And it's also very nice to get an introduction from someone else. It's much more easier, but now let me introduce Marijn. So Marijn has many years of experience, more than 15, and he's also an Office Apps and Services MVP. You can find him everywhere on social media, on YouTube. He's blaming the end user. He's a productivity coach. You can find him also on Twitter. He's tweeting a lot, and he's also doing podcasts with Steve Dalby. So just take a look at his podcast because it's very nice, and it's not just about Office 365. It's also about whiskey. So it's good. Yeah, so let's take a look now on today's agenda. Let me just switch the slide. So first of all, we want to talk about state of the affairs, about the digital transformation and how we move today in COVID days. After that, we want to take a look on how you can support a project rollout in your company and why you can use Teams as a diving board for adopting new tools, because you have also a lot of many other tools you could use. After that, we will take a look to the Office 365 ecosystem, and in this part we want to show you some demos, how you can implement a rollout with Microsoft Teams. We will also give you some tips and tricks, best practices, and make a wrap up. And like I said, we also have some demos and want to show you a little bit also how to automate things in Office 365, Microsoft 365. But let's first take a look to the digital transformation. Marijn, what do you think?
Well, digital transformation, I don't have to actually don't have to say anything about these two images that you see here, because this is just the times that we live in, and this is just what is happening right now. So I've got many customers that were saying last year around this time or in January, they were saying, we don't need Teams. We've got SharePoint, we've got Skype running. We don't need Teams. We don't see any use for it. We don't want to work from home. It's just not for us. And then that big sledgehammer COVID hit the whole world. And they were all calling me up saying, Marijn, I need you to install Teams for all of our users by tomorrow, because we're going to close and we need governance rules and we need it set up and we need it installed and we need everyone trained, preferably in 5 minutes. So would you come and do that? So I have to say that definitely COVID. So if you look at the right hand picture, COVID was definitely the driver for digital transformation in the companies that we work for. So Teams was definitely something that we needed. So if you look at the next slide, we saw or we heard that Teams was just growing exponentially. So what we saw was 35 million in February or March, 75 million by July, and then a few weeks ago, Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, said that we now have 113 or 115 million daily users of Teams. So that means Teams has been adopted worldwide as a collaboration and communication platform. So there are 115 million people who daily open up Teams and daily look at what information they can get from Teams. So everybody in the world is using Teams. But because we need to work from home and because life still just goes on, Teams is not the only tool that we need to start using, that we need to get on board with. So for example, if people are working from home, they can't clock in and clock out every day. So we might need a different way to handle timesheets. We might need to set up something to book offices. For example, in the first lockdown in Belgium and the Netherlands, we could only go back to the office if we had enough space. So that meant that all the islands that we had, all the work islands, we just, instead of 4 people, could now only harbor 1 person. So we set up, for example, a booking system where we had, where people could book a work island. So they could just be 1 person at a time. So it might be that you need to work with customers. So customers might need to book, instead of just walking to the store, you need to book a meeting with them. We might need to do a different way of help desk. For example, I've got some customers where I am on the shop floor once a week to help them out, but now we need to do it all virtually. So we need other help desk solutions. We might need a VPN that we need to roll out if people are working from home. So what I'm getting to is COVID hit us. So we all needed to work from home. We all needed to start working in a different way, and organizations need to have a way to facilitate that. And we all started working with Teams, and we all adopted Teams in all the organizations in order to work from home. But we still need a lot of other applications that we need to roll out as well. Even now that we are going back to the office, life still goes on, and we are still rolling out new applications. We're still doing new stuff in the evergreen solution that Office 365 is. So we still need to roll out other applications. So how do we support the rollout?
So easy. First of all, we need a place to find information. So and we also need to communicate the why. Why are we rolling out a new tool? What benefits does the employee have? And also make the employee understand how he can start, and yeah, just communicate directly to your end user. And also you have to think about how you want to communicate, because you have so many different communication channels today. And you also think about providing your end user a channel to ask questions. And it doesn't matter how, if you have a service desk, or if you have a power user platform, or if you just have a channel to bring your end users together to communicate each other. But it's important to define how you can communicate to them and how they communicate each other if they have questions or they need some experiences from other colleagues. And also it's important to provide them information who can help them and what are the channels they can use. Another important thing is also knowledge management, because as you know, you have a new tool, you have recurring question, how can I start a Teams meeting? And everyone is asking the same question, so it makes sense to build a knowledge management. And this knowledge management, you also have different options to do it. You can build knowledge management in OneNote. You can have a database. You can have a manual, a document. You can have videos. So you have different options to do that. And it makes sense to decide what you want to do and then do that. Also a interesting topic is training. So I've experienced it many times that there are trainings in companies about a new tool, but no one knows that there are trainings. So it's nice to offer trainings, but you also have to communicate it, that they are available and make them reachable. So despite this, it makes sense to have a rollout plan, to have a project plan, how you implement the new tool, to have in the next step to have a communication plan, and also to have the rollout plan. What milestones do you have? Do you roll it out for different groups at a different time, or do you roll out for everyone and you, with all the functions? The best example is Office 365, Microsoft 365. If you roll out Microsoft 365 with all the tools, it will be a little bit difficult for the normal end user because it's too huge and too complex. So you also need to think about rolling out the project. So now let's take a look how we can implement a project rollout. Marijn, what do you think? A communication side, does that fit for a rollout?
Well, because we need to roll out other solutions, we kind of need a place or a platform to contain helpful information where people can ask questions, where we can have our training material, where people can book a training, where people can ask questions, all kinds of stuff. So before, I just created a SharePoint site and I just put everything on there. So I would say that's enough, right? What could Teams offer me instead of just SharePoint site?
So a SharePoint site, you have a one-way communication. So this means you provide information, you communicate to your end users, but you don't have this back channel. So you cannot provide a channel for your end users to ask questions to you as a product team, or to ask questions and help each other. And as you know, a communication site, if you look at the definition, a communication site is there to broadcast information. It makes sense to have a communication site, but just think about that you need to have also a channel for the two-way communication.
Okay, so if we're talking about that two-way communication, what about Yammer? Because in Yammer, I can ask questions. I can actually write something down in a community, and I can actually say, okay, this is a question I need an answer. And the answer, I can actually say, okay, this is the best answer that I can give. So would that be maybe the thing that we're looking for?
Yes, it could be an option, but if your organization already uses Yammer, yes, it makes sense because you can integrate Yammer in a communication site. You can integrate it as a web part. It makes sense. But what if your company doesn't have Yammer? If your company you don't have to go for Yammer, so then you don't have this option, and you can think about Teams. And it's not the only one reason. You can also think about Teams because you have the option to store documents, different types of documents. You have the option to build workflows with Power Automate, and you have all information in one app. And if you, as you know, a team also has a team site, a connected team site. So you can use a team in Microsoft Teams and also build up the connected team site with content to also have a internal site with all the material and information about your new tool.
Okay. So yeah, so there are definitely ways to there's definitely a good idea to use Teams as a change management platform. I think, well, because everyone is already using Teams because of Corona and COVID, and we all had to go to Teams. So we've got now 150 million daily users. So everybody's already used to Teams. So it kind of makes sense that we use Teams as that platform to do the other things. So it's now a familiar thing. And as you said before, so we've got the power of Office 365 behind it. So we can make workflows, we can do all kinds of cool stuff. So we got the whole ecosystem locked in place. So that's all cool, but can't you just show me what you want to do, or how it could look like, what I could do? Give me some ideas.
Yes, I can show you, and after that you can decide if it fits for your needs or not. Okay, First of all,
I just have to say that whatever you show me always fits my needs. So
okay, that's good. Okay, but before I show you the demo, please let me just explain what we want to show to give you a short overview. So, like we said, our goal is to adopt a new tool. We also thought about a new tool. It's the Easy Time timesheet. And for rolling out this new tool, we had two teams in Microsoft Teams. The first one is the project team. So when you plan a project, rolling out a tool, you have your project where you plan everything, where you plan the rollout. The purpose of this team is to manage the project, to integrate different Microsoft 365 tools that you need, like Planner, OneNote, or Power Automate. And for example, manage trainings. You want to manage the training dates and offer trainings to your end users. That's the first team. And then we have a second team. It's the rollout team. And the purpose of the second team is to have a communication channel to your end users. We have a team. We have also an associated portal, the team side, where we can provide all relevant information, because as you know, in Teams, it's nice to communicate, but if you store there a lot of documents, they will get lost and there will be a lot of documents just at one place, and sometimes you don't find what you need. And in this rollout team, we also have a training registration for the end users, so they can register for new trainings. And we are using Power Automate to create trainings, to send training invitation, and do this all these things automatically. Okay, now let me just show you a short demo about the teams we have. So in Microsoft Teams, we have, like I said, we have created two teams. The first one is the project team, and here, as you know, it's just a normal project where you have different channels. You can integrate your planner to plan the project. You can have your project plan. You can also plan the communication and stuff like this. And what we've also done here is in this project team, we have the trainings where we can manage the trainings. So this is just a Microsoft list. And in this list, we manage the training, the name of the training and the training dates. And what this list is doing, so as soon as I'm creating, let's create now a training Easy Time Advanced, let's say aOS. So that's the training name. Then we have a start time, let's say the 16th. At 8 in the morning. The end time, it's also the 16th, a little bit later. And what happens now? We just created a new training on the 16th of December. We save this training. You will see it here. Let me make it a little bit smaller. So this is the training I have just created. And if you take a look on the columns, I have a training name, the start date time, the end time, the details, it's just a build-up column, and the meeting ID. Because in the back of this list, a workflow is starting and creating automatically a new meeting. And this helps us to automate a training registration, and it's really done super easy. I will also show you a little bit later the workflow that is behind this list, because it's really super easy. As you can see now, the meeting ID, the workflow just ran and created a new meeting ID, added it here. And now when the end user wants to register for a training, he has the new training Easy Time Advanced aOS in his list, and he can directly register for it. Okay, I will come back later to the demo to show you also the second team that is more interesting. But now I would like to switch back to Marijn.
All right, time to put me to work again. I just love your demos, and I already know what's coming in the next demo that you're gonna build. So it's just gonna it blows my mind every time you just show it how it can work. So this was just themes, and as we said before the demo, behind themes we've got that whole Office 365 ecosystem. So if we take a look at this periodic table that Matt Wade built, and I'm just using that all the time. I just love how easy and simple this is. So if you look at this, we can actually, if we just cross out all the apps that we can't use or that don't have anything to do with managing Office 365 as a scaffold platform to set up our adoption platform for other tools. So if we go to the next slide. Yes, Corinna, you need to do something as well. Okay, cool, thank you. So we can just cross out all the apps that we don't want to use or that we don't use. So we are actually left with a bunch of these. So we're actually gonna not really deep dive, but touch upon these in a few more minutes. But I really wanted to really pinpoint a few things. So we got Stream, which is going away to container videos. We got SharePoint to create those communication sites. We got Outlook to communicate Teams, of course. Yammer, if you got it. Bookings, if we can set up trainings. Power BI, the whole Power stuff, the Power Platform to make everything run smoother. We got Whiteboard and our Office client apps. And then, of course, we got Sway. And if you have been listening to, for example, my podcast, you know what I think about Sway. And actually, the next podcast, episode 49, that's gonna come out somewhere next week. I've got a major announcement around my standpoint on Sway. So, with that, Corinna.
Okay, then just let me continue with the full Office 365 stack demo. So I will not show you all Office 365 tools, but maybe just take a look at some other tools like Power Automate or Outlook. So like we've seen before in this project team, we have created a new training event, and like I said, we also have the second team, the Easy Time timesheet rollout. This team has several channels. So when we roll out the Easy Time tool, we have maybe some functions specific for project managers. So project managers can have an overview of the timesheet of their employees. So they have further functions that they can use. So it makes sense maybe to have a private channel where they can also talk to each other and also change experiences. Then you can use a channel Ask Your Question, where you can moderate and motivate your employees to ask their questions. Yeah. And you could also create a channel to say hello, and everyone can just introduce himself. Like I've said, for this team, we also created a portal, because every team has a team site, and it makes sense if you roll out the tool to also use the team site and build it up to have an overview with the most important informations and links that your employees need. So let me just open it in the browser. It's a team site with some quick links, with also information about upcoming trainings. This here, the list with the trainings is just a simple Microsoft 365 list, and with JSON with list formatting, it's done nicer. So you have a simple overview, and I think here we should see more than 2 trainings because we have just added, as you can see here, the Easy Time Advanced AOS is now also here available for the end user. And the end user also now can register for a training and get automatically a training invitation. But first, before I show you this, let me show you the workflow that just creates this trainings, so it creates the meetings for the trainings. So as soon as I'm adding a new training date in the list, that I've done before, it's just creating a new Teams meeting because in Power Automate you have an action, create a Teams meeting. I'm getting the meeting ID and I'm just saving it in the list, and that's all. So now let's register for the training. And this is also a simple Microsoft list or SharePoint list because it's the same. And as you can see here now in the drop down, I also have the Easy Time Advanced AOS, the meeting we just created before. And now I say, okay, I want to register for this training and save this. And at this point, a new workflow is starting and inviting me to that training, and also the workflow is sending some notifications in Teams. Let me also show you the second workflow to just take a look how easy it is. Okay. Now, the second workflow is also very easy. So when a user registers for the training, I just need to get the training ID, and then the attendee gets an email confirmation. Let's see, because I've just received here the registration confirmation that I've registered for this training, Easy Time Advanced. So I've just received this one. Then the workflow is posting a message to the attendee. Let's see here. Okay, I received a message in Teams. Of course, it doesn't make sense to send messages in Teams and send emails, but these are just two options to send notifications to your users. So now I also got a chat message that I've registered for this training, and now I also got invited to the training. So now I haven't received an invitation here because I have created the meeting and I have been invited. So now if we take a look in the calendar, we can see that I've also here on the 16th, it's the Easy Time. So I've also received the calendar invitation. Okay, that's all with the workflow. And you can also do a lot of other cool things when you're adopting new tools. So it makes sense to use the SharePoint team site because everything what you post in Teams, it's there. But if you write a lot in Teams, the messages will disappear and the news also will disappear at some point because people are always writing. But if you have a portal like this, you always have the information here on the page and you can integrate it in the team. So here we have a tab with the rollout portal. We also have a tab with the training registration. So if your users don't want to leave Microsoft Teams, then they can use just Microsoft Teams. And if your users like to also access the website, the SharePoint site, then they can access the SharePoint site. Yeah, so Marijn, what do you think? Would this fit for you?
Awesome. I mean, yeah, that is, I mean, it just always looks like so much work to set something up like this, but you just make it look easy. And that's what I like about it.
It is really easy. So of course you need to just understand what you can do in Microsoft 365, but and the more difficult process is to think about how you want to have the process and how you want to do it, and setting it up is just easy to do it. Now just let me give you some examples how you can solve these issues, because as you have seen, for example, the training registration, we have done the training registration with SharePoint, with a SharePoint or Microsoft list. But you can do a training registration also with Microsoft Forms, with a simple form in Microsoft Forms. Maybe it's easier for if you're not so familiar with SharePoint, but you cannot automate it so good. And you also have the option to use Power Apps. So you can use Power Apps to set up the registration. If you talk about data storage, you can store training registration in a SharePoint list. You can also store it in an Excel if it makes sense, or you can use Dataverse, a database. So it's your decision where you store your data, how you set up a registration, and also how you want to build a workflow. So you can create meetings with Power Automate. You can send invites. You can send notifications in Teams. You can also Twitter, send a tweet out that you're doing trainings. Don't know if it makes sense, but you can do a lot of actions, and you just need to decide how you want to do it. Another topic is the knowledge management and the user support. So it's important to provide a channel for asking questions. In my example, I have used a channel in Microsoft Teams, Ask Your Question, where everyone can ask your question, his question. You could also use a Yammer, or the Yammer web part in a SharePoint site. You can also use bots to automate this channel for asking questions, or Microsoft Q&A, or like I've said, Microsoft Teams. You can provide videos with stream, so you can have different channels with training materials. If you're adopting several tools in your company, you will need several channels for different tools. Very important is to keep an eye on new questions, because if you have a channel, Ask Your Questions, and no one is answering the questions, it's bad. So it makes sense to have a kind of moderator that is answering difficult questions and is also supporting the employees to answer the questions from their colleagues. So the easier ones. Yeah, so that's all about the knowledge management. One more thing is also communication. So if we talk about news, you always have news when you're adopting a new tool, a new feature is available, a new training is available, a new update is available, or stuff like this. And when you communicate, you have different channels you can use. You can use email, you can send manual emails if you want to do that, but you can also send automated emails in Power Automate. Or you can use Yammer if you have Yammer. You can use simple Teams posts as announcements, or you also have a connector. It's the SharePoint connector in Microsoft Teams. So when you're adding news in a team site associated to the team, it's automatically posting this news in Teams. Or you can just use a SharePoint communication site if a team doesn't fit your needs. Okay, so, all right, about measuring success.
Yeah, so we can set up all these things to make it better for users to start using Teams or the other tools that we've got to adopt this new thing that we want to roll out. But of course, it all doesn't mean a thing if we can't measure how good we're doing. So we need to measure a baseline, we need to measure at certain intervals, certain milestones. And there are just a bunch of ways how we could do that. So the easiest would be to just create a form that you would send out, and within that form, for example, there are these net promoter score questions that you can ask. You could even create a power app if you want to get something like that. But let's say if you want to focus on something like you want to do better meetings, better collaboration, you could use the new productivity score. So there's a lot of things that have been said about productivity score, that it's a spy tool for your manager. I just wrote a blog post around it. If you want to learn how to turn off that employee level data. But there are so many ways how you could get that data. So there's usage analytics as well. So you can bring that into a Power BI dashboard. You could set up some planner tasks to do that. You can even just use regular old Excel to measure how people are adopting that new tool. And definitely something that you should do, whatever you are rolling out, is running to run a champions program. So it doesn't matter what kind of tool that you're rolling out, roll it out to a group of power users first to see if that resonates with them, to actually see how you could or how you need to shift gears if need be. And you could set up a separate community with them on Yammer if you're using Yammer, but you could also, of course, use Teams with that. So you can set up a separate team, or maybe just a private channel, depending on how large your group is or what kind of things that you want to do, because you still can't do everything in a private channel that you can do in a public channel. So definitely take a look at that, see what you can do. So you can provide a bunch of information to those champions first, like these manuals, guidelines, some Q&A stuff to them, to see if they can get ahead with that kind of information. So I think it's definitely a good idea to run something like that. Now, also, in one of our last sessions that we did together, people were also asking, yeah, that's all cool, but what about if we just want to drive digital literacy across the organization? And I've got a few customers that are digitally challenged, let's say. So they are not really used to working with digital tools, with online tools, definitely not with stuff that is changing all the time, because Office 365 is that evergreen solution. Every week we've got new features coming out, we've got changes, we got all kinds of things that are changing. So how did I do that for a bunch of my customers? Well, for example, we had cookies and knowledge sessions. So we said to the people, you bring the cookies, you bring the coffee, and you bring the coffee, we will provide you with cookies, and we will provide you with knowledge. So that is in my experience, the best way to gather people together is to give them cookies. And while they're eating the cookies, you can give them knowledge as well. So, of course, that's what we did when we were all physically in the same office. But now that we all had to do it online, we were actually sending people little bags of cookies to come over to our meeting. And we actually set up a special team called the Cookies and Knowledge team, so that everybody could go there. We got a channel per product that we were delivering knowledge on, so people could ask questions there, but we could also have meetings there. We could also give people advice. We could just answer to people. So that is just a brilliant way to move from that in live situation to a virtual online situation. So I think it's kind of time to wrap up our session. We've got a few minutes left, so I just want to leave you with some best practices. So if you want to roll something out, you need to get people interested. If they want to adopt something, you need to get their attention. So use influencer techniques, the things that you see on Twitter, the things that you see on Instagram with all the flashy people with the six-pack, with the big cars, stuff like that, all those influencers that are trying to sell you something. So use moderators that know the art of influencing people. There are lots of books on that. There are YouTube movies on how to learn that. So that is definitely something that you could do. So get some moderators in that know how to do that. Get people prizes, get people swag, get people cookies. Those are really good ways to capture people's attention and to make them attend a session, to make them aware of something, to let them try something out. You know, register for this new thing that we're setting up, and in the first 20 people that register, we're gonna hand out 5, I don't know what kind of prizes. And that is just a brilliant way of getting people to do something, because if you just ask them politely, that is just not gonna work. If you're gonna set up a team to help you as a platform to help with that rollout, choose your team's name carefully. It's so freaking difficult to get that changed in a good way. Keep your content up to date. So make sure that people have a reason to go there, that they are not just watching old stuff. For some of those channels, you could maybe set it up that only a moderator can post things, so that people can't respond to something, but maybe something where you just want to show news, where we just want to do that good news kind of thing. Make sure that and that's just training in global, that you don't just use one way of training, do multiple ways. So for example, some people need to try stuff out. I need to be shown something. So people have different ways to actually do that. So also, do not forget to train your help desk. Those are the people that will get phone calls if things go sideways. So they need to be able to help people. And of course, get that champions team on board as well. So as a wrap up, COVID made me use Teams. I think that is something that we can all say that is, just for everyone. But please know and understand that Teams can handle whatever you throw at it to roll out other things. So it contains the way to add those documents. You can have those conversations. You can do those meetings, those trainings. You can use Teams in order to help with all those things. People already know Teams because they've been working with Teams by now. And if you then combine it with the full stack, just like Corinna demoed earlier, you can just amaze your users with awesome looking stuff. And with that, I will let Corinna wrap up the session.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Marijn, for the wrap up, and also thank you for attending our session. Or better said, Dankeschön. And we also have the event evaluation, so please fill out the form and give us feedback for the session and also for the event. And feel free to ask your questions in the chat, because we still have a couple of minutes. So if you have any questions, please let us know. And yeah, if not, if you have later questions, we will also take a look in the AOS team, so you can also ask us the questions there. Gesundheit, Marijn.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh.
Okay. So I think we're done, and there were not any new questions. I think we are still waiting a couple of minutes, and
yeah, we're not allowed to leave yet, so.
So if there are not any questions, I can just talk a little bit about my thoughts. You talked a little bit about private channels. I don't know why, but I hate them.
You hate private channels?
Yes.
Okay. Why is it? Because they create a separate SharePoint site that your end users will not be able to find because it's not all meshed together? Or is it because it's just something that doesn't work like a regular channel and you don't have all the amazing opportunities and possibilities?
Both.
Yeah, I think that we can all say something like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think it's there are reasons why you would want to do something like that. So for example, if you're using Teams only, if you don't want to use the SharePoint functionality behind it, you just want to use Teams. So I'm seeing somebody saying that they hate private channels as well. Well, as with everything, there's a time and a place or an opportunity for them. And for example, I've got one customer where we have for every project that they do with external experts, they have a few channels that they do for the project, but they also have one internal channel for every project that they do, so to handle administration, stuff like that. And in that case, a private channel is just what they need. That just fits their need very well. But they are not doing anything else than just posting a few documents on there, having a few conversations, so they don't have that need for extra tabs, for extra document management features. So for them, it kind of works quite well, but yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it works. Yeah. Okay. I think we're good, and we should also leave a short break until the next session is starting.
We've got a question. How not to lose governance about all app sites, channels, power apps? Seems starting using Microsoft 365 in a larger company creates a lot of content silos. Yes, you are right. How not to lose governance? Do you have 2 days and we can just explain it? Because that's a big topic all on itself, and I'm pretty sure there will be some people today talking about it. In short, you have to actively manage it. That is my solution to it. You can't just turn it on and leave it and just say, okay, now my users are using it and I'm done and I'm just going to do something else. No, you need to actively manage it on a daily, weekly basis, not on a monthly basis, but be involved all the time. Get those measurements in, get that productivity score, those adoption things, get your information in, so that you know what people are trying to do, and then you can actually steer based on whatever they're trying or whatever they're doing or whatever needs they have. So try to be very visible as an Office 365 person or as a Teams person. Try to be super visible within the company so that people know that they can reach you if they've got questions, if they want to do something. Try to educate people on what tool when. So within your company, make a decision, okay, we're going to use this tool if we want to do these things. For example, department information. Okay, we're going to use SharePoint for departments. For projects, okay, we're going to use Teams for projects. So you can do stuff like that and then help people out with doing that.
Yeah, I think the most difficult thing is it sounds old-fashioned, but to have a kind of governance concept to define this in advance, because yeah, as you know, many companies just adopted Microsoft Teams in the spring, and then they realize, oh my God, but we have Forms and we have Power Automate and we have Power Apps, and then we have also a server and we have a SharePoint on-prem and we need to migrate, and what are we doing? And yeah, if you don't have a concept in advance and it's not defined how you will move and how you will provide licenses, for example, Power or Apps licenses, who will get the license and who will be available to do this, to do some Power Apps. If you don't specify this in advance, it's not so easy.
Yeah, but you can try to specify that in advance, but the world just moves super quickly. Things are changing all the time, so you just need to actively manage it. And that will involve cost, that will involve blood, sweat, and tears. Maybe not as much blood, hopefully, but at least sweat and tears. And yeah, it could be 2 steps forward, 1 step backward sometimes. But it is really all about training people, working with them, understanding what they want to do, talking to them, and then helping them choose the right way of working and help them on the right path, and to actually understand what they are doing, not just consummating whatever they need to do and start living in that channel that you created for them, but actually know how or why a channel was set up and what are the boundaries. So we all make them little Office 365 experts as well. So.
Okay, I think with this said, we should go for lunch.
Awesome. Yes, your place or mine.
Everyone at his place. It's COVID.
Oh yes, yes.
I'm sorry
need
for
to
that.
be separated and all that. Yes, I get it.
Okay, so thank you for attending, and thank you, Marijn.
Thank you all. I hope it was insightful. I hope it was funny. I hope you enjoyed the demo material, because to be honest, that was the best stuff from the whole session. And I wish you all happy Christmas, happy New Year, happy whatever party you want to do. Be safe, work from home, wash your hands, all those things. And I am more than delighted for next year to meet you all in person. And I would say, if you see me in person in one of the next events, talk to me, say, I was at your session at aMS Germany and I will buy you a beer.
Okay, stay healthy and thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.